Now I must meet this Alejandro. Yep. Who are you? I am Alejandro! Why have you been kissing my girl? You're a bird! You're not even the same species. So? Our love is pure. Oh, it's not. Why does Tim Drake look so young even though he's 17? That wasn't supposed to happen. Hi! And to make this clear, we're talking New Earth DC Comics, which lasted from 1986 to 2011. Not Prime Earth Tim. He's a character, he's not a character. He's the message piloting Tim's character assassinated corpse. Our theory here is that Tim, despite being 17 years old in the Red Robin comics, still hasn't hit puberty. You may think he's just a late bloomer with CGD. But to be a late bloomer, puberty hits at 15. He's 2 years too late, so something else is clearly wrong. Tim Drake, for the entire run of the Red Robin comics, doesn't take care of himself at all. What you see is his hair get longer, but he doesn't grow a single chin hair. And we know he wasn't shaving. Sure, you might say, but no one's ever needed to really shave in the comics. They're comics! And to that I say, people do shave in the comics if it's with a purpose. Usually fan service. But the thing is, Robin spends several weeks to months trying to find Batman, not once thinking about his appearance. By the time the comics finish, Batman would have had trouble telling it was Tim through the black peach fuzz. It would have been an easy thing the artists could do to show that he went a tad crazy, but they didn't, and they continued this prepubescent trend to the end despite most of his friends aging normally. Which is why we bring this up. Was his puberty stalled? Yes, but how can we tell? Simple. He looks the same since he was 13, just taller and slightly more muscled. His height is also a steady, slow growth, not quick spurts like it should. He doesn't grow chin or chest hair, and you know Dick would have pointed those out. He hasn't had the thickening of his bones yet, making his shoulders small and facial features soft, and considering how most people treat him, you know his voice hasn't lowered at all. What could have caused it? He doesn't have abnormal chromosomes, like having 2 X's and a Y. Still has a sense of smell, which common syndrome stops. Doesn't have... I suspect I missaid that. Doesn't have an autoimmune disorder or any chronic illness. We can see from his parents' tall stature that delayed growth doesn't run in the family, and therefore how tall he was supposed to be. So we're left with growth hormone deficiency, which is caused by chronic stress. But what causes him chronic stress? Better question, what doesn't cause it? Cobra Cult, champagne, poison ivy, burn the grass. This shot in shot, almost ripped, flop, bust, full genocide. Here in the pipeline, title gets stripped away. Leadership's a price to pay. Lost a fortune, KGB's giant penny, body eyes, broken trust, sleepless nights. Jason's back, death threat. Hallucinations in his head. Gotham's under martial law. CPR, gang wars. He can't take it anymore. Inside the fire. Cities are burning in the world. From the age of 5, he suffered the same nightmare. His parents left him alone for weeks on end, and he ran around taking pictures of Batman and Robin. Surprised he didn't get mugged on a regular basis. Age 9, he figures out who Robin is. Age 13, he becomes Robin, and everything goes further downhill from there. Tim is already suffering the medical condition hereditary psychosis, where he and all of the males in his family tree hallucinate when extremely stressed. All of this allows him to do is know that when his stress levels are too high, sometimes adding to it. Tim also suffers an extreme lack of sleep, severe depression, too much exercise, and has poor hygiene. If Alfred didn't feed him, he'd also have malnutrition. Tim rarely sleeps for more than 3 hours a night. During the day, he goes to school and tries having a social life to appear normal. At night, he fights crime until something o'clock in the morning, or until he passes out. Plus, his only pick-me-up is Zesty, DC's version of Pepsi. He is passively suicidal, and all of his friends and family keep dying around him. He's constantly on the move and does multiple high-energy training matches with a full-grown man every week. Crime is rampant in Gotham, and the city never sleeps, adding more stress to the fire. Lastly, he often forgets to eat on missions, especially high-stress ones. It's a wonder he hasn't gone insane. Debatable. This, when all mixed together, is pure, unrefined chronic stress at its finest.
We now interrupt this wonderful program to give you an ad. This business was started by a homeless man, and he is now using the money to help other homeless people out of poverty. On his site, he sells products that he puts QR codes on that take you to other small businesses. So, curious on what the little guy's selling or want to do your part helping the homeless? Just go to bonfire.com/store/live to inspire/ or click the link in the description. Now, back to our regularly scheduled program.
Now, you're probably wondering, will he always stay like this? No, especially if you read the Teen Titans comic where Tim meets his older evil self. Then you're wondering, why is he a manly adult in the future? The answer? Synthetic hormones. We suspect that he doesn't get puberty until he's at least 18, and by then he would have needed testosterone injections and other shots. Knowing him, he's more likely to go to Poison Ivy for that than a real doctor. The biggest issue is that because it happens so late, he's left completely infertile. Not only that, but he also has a higher risk of heart failure, bone fractures, and depression. Mix in his missing spleen and fighting, and you know he's not going to live very long. Probably why he heavily relies on a repurposed gun in his evil future. In the Sins of the Youth comics, we get to know what Tim would have looked like if he had hit puberty like he was supposed to. In those comics, he was aged up by an age ray. He turns into the chaddest of chads and is an inch taller than his dad. His evil features is his evil future self is short and stocky, which is what happens when your body is forced to go through rapid puberty on synthetic hormones. Because of this condition, most heroes treat him like a younger brother, often being overprotective and playful with him, even if they're almost the same age. Throughout the comics, you can see the rapid growth that Dick and Jason go through throughout their teen years. They end up big and bulky nearing their 20s, but Tim looks like a young teenager. Even in his classes, he looks younger than his peers. But they don't bully him because he's got enough muscle to disguise the problem. In the end, if he wants kids, he'll have to settle on adoption. So if you think about it, Rish couldn't get an heir out of him even if Tim wanted to. Now, why would the artist do this? Well, for one, keeping his appearance and actions more childlike appeals relates to a younger audience. 2, they can milk him for teen angst for as long as possible. And 3, it maintains his relationship with Batman. I wouldn't be surprised if the results wasn't entirely intentional, but if they hadn't rebooted the universe, they could have explored this as a character arc. Giving him a struggle around the idea that he will never be a biological dad and how that would affect him and Steph's relationship and her desire to have his baby. His only option being adoption and finding out whether or not he ends up being just like Bruce and whether or not he does go evil. That's what we got. Bye! Comment, like, and subscribe. Don't be rude or mean. Bye!